So thanks for watching. We're going to answer more of your questions from the comments, and please keep the comments coming about the Spectrum and Xumo box. And again, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up or the bell to subscribe and be notified. So the first question is, how do we control the input? How do we go from AV back to HDMI on our Xumo remote? So on the remote, on the upper left, there's an input button, and if you hit that once, it'll go to input, and then you hit it again, it'll flip to different inputs. And then essentially you just leave it on the one you want and it'll go to that one. If that doesn't work for you, you may need to pair your remote or train your remote to work with your TV. So question number 2 really is, how do we then get the Xumo remote to do that to my TV if it's not affecting the input button or the volume button or other TV buttons? So for that, you're going to hit the gear button on the Xumo remote to go into the Xumo system settings, and then hit the right button on those tiles to go over to connected devices, and then hit the center select button. And then you'll just follow these on-screen prompts here to hit the center select button a few more times, and it's going to say, do you want to use this remote to connect to your TV? It's defaulted to yes, so hit the center select. And then it's going to say, use your volume and go up and down on the Xumo remote, and did it show up on your TV? And if it didn't, hit the center select for no, but if it did, as in my case, hit the left button and then the center select button. And the next prompt is going to ask you if you want to control your speakers. I'm going to go hit the right button to no, and then the center select button because I don't have speakers externally like a stereo or anything. And then just hit that center select button when it's over the continue button, and you're all done. So the next question is about how do we pause a show on the on-demand shows in the Xumo streaming box, because sometimes the pause isn't working. So for this example, we're going to go through and we're going to find an on-demand show. In this case, we're going to find Everybody Loves Raymond under the on-demand and just start watching it. And while it's running, we're going to use the center select button on the remote to pause it, and then the right arrow to fast forward it, and then the center select button to play. And what it did was, so that part worked, but it put us into an ad. And if you notice on the ad, I can hit the center select button to pause and play, but the fast forward and rewind are not available on the ad. So if you see in the upper right where it says ad 1 of 2 and a time counting on on-demand content, that means you can pause the ad, but you can't fast forward or rewind. So in this next example, we're going to hit the center select button again to pause the show, and then we're going to hit the left button to show you how to rewind, and then again hit the center select button, and it will play at that point in the timeline. So this next question is about favorites, and once you've picked your channel favorites, they're there all the time as favorites, but the view of the channel guide when you're selected favorites, again, if you're on the channel guide and you go over to a channel and hold down the OK button, you'll get the filters, and you can say, I just want to see my favorites. You don't have to see all the channels in that case, so I just see my 5 channels that are my favorites. And if I go back into the guide, I see that it's still my favorites. But if you turn the Xumo box off completely and power it down, and then power it back on and go back into the guide, it looks like, at least on the current version of the Xumo OS I have, that the guide defaults to all channels, which is really unfortunate. The favorites are still favorited within all channels, so you can go to the channel name and then hold down OK for filters and select favorites, and you will see just your favorites again, but it's unfortunate that it defaults back to the guide with all the channels showing, not just the ones you had asked for last time you used it. So this next question is about the Spectrum app not letting me see the guide or recordings, and pressing up or left is not doing anything. So in the Xumo startup screen, when you first start up the box, go down a row to the apps, and make sure that you're going into the Spectrum app, because there's the Xumo Play app as well, which has a slightly different interface. So I'm going to select the Spectrum app, and it's going to bring me into the guide, and I'm just going to go left into live TV. Now if you didn't see that, if you don't see the guide or you don't see live TV, hit the back button, which isn't the left button, it's the back button. I got that wrong in earlier videos and somebody was nice enough to point that out. If you hit the back button, it should bring you back to the top where you see Home, Live TV, Guide, My Library, and On Demand. And that from there you should be able to see all things Spectrum. If that doesn't work, let us know in the comments below. So this next question is, how do I change the date on the channel guide to find a program without scrolling through each hour? So yeah, if you're in the channel guide, you can see the current date as it is when you do it, and the current time, and then all your shows. And if you go, you have to right click one at a time to see the next hour. But if you hold down the right or left side of the center circle there, if you hold it down, you'll see it zooms through the times. So that's the best way I've been able to find it. I haven't been able to find a way just to change the date, but I found a way to kind of fast forward and do that with a single click and hold. So this next question points out that a few things. One, the Spectrum app is not one of the shortcuts on the Xumo remote control, even though they're giving it to you at Spectrum, which is, I don't understand why that is either. But the core of the question is there any way to remap those buttons on the remote that are dedicated to the streaming services so that you can assign one to Freevee or Pluto or even Spectrum? At this point, I don't see any way to do that. There's no way to reprogram those buttons, at least through the current user interface. So that's a negative towards the ability to customize the actual remote, and that's a shame because that would be like a huge step forward if there was just a single button on it for Spectrum. So this next question is, how do I log in? Which I think is, how do you set it up and log into Spectrum? This is a shorter version of the answer, but I'll link to the long form of the video, which has a little more content in it if you're interested below. If you're setting it up first out of the box, we're going to go screen by screen with remote control animations. But during this process, when you plug it in and turn it on, you'll see a screen that says hello or hola, and you might even see your TV go flicker in and out like mine just did. And that's as it's sending the signal to the TV as it's booting up for the first time. And this takes, I'd say, well over a minute. And once you're in, you select your language. If it's default to US, the other option is Spanish. I'm going to stick with English, so I'll just hit the center select button on the remote. If it says I'm sure, I'll say yes, I'm sure, and hit the center select button again on the remote. Would I like voice guidance? For now, I'm going to leave it off. So I'm going to hit the center select again. You can turn it on later under settings. For connection, I'm going to say Wi-Fi with password, the top. So I'm just going to hit the center select again. And then I'm going to get a list of networks in my area. And mine happens to be on the top, so I'm going to hit center select. And now for password, you use the left, right, up, down, center buttons. And when you get over the letter you want, you hit the center select button and it'll punch that letter into the password field. And you do this for each character in your password. Once you have your password populated, you hit the right button and then you hit the enter button to try to log in. And it'll say you are or not connected. Hopefully it says you are. Hit the continue button. So for that, you just hit the select button in the center, the enter button in the center. And it's going to update your software, and this also may take a while, so we'll probably just jump ahead here. When it's done updating software, it's going to ask you to use the remote to also control some of your TV. So for this, hit the enter button, and then hit the volume up or down as you're directed to by the screen. And in my case, you can see the volume up or down dialog there. So I'm going to hit the left button and then the center button. And what that does is say, yes, this is this works for my TV. Now for speakers, I'm going to go to the right and say no, and then hit the center select button because I don't have a stereo. So now I'm ready, so I'm going to hit the center select button, and of course now you get hit with the big privacy policy from Xumo, not Spectrum but Xumo, the underlying operating system. So just hit the enter button if you accept it, and then it's going to give you a 6-digit code and ask you to go to this URL on your computer. So let's pause this video for a second and hop over to the web browser on my phone. You can use your computer, whatever connects to the internet. Go to the Xumo.com URL that we just saw, and it'll say enter in your 6-digit code. So I'm going to enter in those same 6 digits. Yours will be unique. Each person's interaction will have its own code. And then click the I agree if you agree, and then click the continue button. Then from here it's going to say create an account. So you're going to have to enter in an email address here. That'll be your login, and then click continue. And then you're going to be asked to create a password again, and click continue. I didn't get a video of that. Once you do that, it'll say you're ready to start watching. Go back to your account. So then you go back to your Xumo box and just hit the enter button on your remote, the center select, and that'll continue on. It'll say what room you want to call it. I just go with the default, hit the center select. For time zone, I'm going to down arrow and then hit select for Eastern. Next, for TV provider, there's only one choice because I got it at the Spectrum store, so I hit the center button and you see a checkbox appear next to Spectrum. And then I hit the down arrow once, and then I hit the center button to continue. Sharing my history, no thanks. I hit the right arrow button, and then I hit the center enter button, select button, don't allow. Personalize, I can do that later, so I'm going to skip it. Go to the right button, and then hit the center button. So now it's going to set up the operating system that runs underneath the Spectrum app, and this really doesn't take very long. So the default tile is the Spectrum app. You'll see it says currently playing Spectrum over on the left. So you're going to have to, on the remote, again, hit the center select button to make that full screen. And once you do that, you'll see you're in another, this time a Spectrum service agreement. Just hit the down arrow a bunch of times till you get to the bottom, and then hit the right arrow. You'll see agree is highlighted, and then hit the center select if you agree with the agreement. And once you do that, it'll launch you right into the Spectrum app, and you'll have all the menu options that you see in the other videos. So thanks for watching, and thanks most of all for commenting. And if you have other questions or things you need, just please leave comments on the videos and we'll try to answer them in the next one.